Well, hello again to all the boys and girls out there in YouTube land watching. John and Ellie back at you today with another beer review. And what I'm looking at is Abita's Andygator. Now, I've had this many times before on draft in the bottle. Um, it's great on draft. But anyway, I've had it many times over the years. It's one of the first Abita beers that I got in my area. The Andygator and the Purple Haze were the two big Abita beers in my area. And I enjoyed them both. Back when I used to go out and drink different draft beers, there was this place called Mellow Mushroom, which is still a very popular pizza restaurant chain in the United States, especially here in the Southeast. But the bartenders would always recommend having a purple gator, which was half purple haze, Abita purple haze, and half Abita Andygator, and you would mix them up. You draft beer, and they would call it a purple gator, and it was pretty dang good. But anyway, I digress. What we're looking at today, Andygator. Boom, Abita. Okay, so 8% alcohol, 25 IBUs. This beer was introduced in 1993. It is brewed in Louisiana by Abita Brewing Company. They also make other products, non-alcoholic sodas and other things like that, which is pretty interesting. I notice I get some of those here in my area as well, but I would imagine in Louisiana, especially close to the brewery, there would be all kinds of different and interesting little products that they put out. But anyway, this beer did win a silver medal at the Great American Beer Festival in 2013 in the Bach category. And it says on the label, Andygator is a fearsome beast. Don't let his toothy grin, slightly sweet flavor, and subtle fruit aromas fool you. This cold-blooded creature is a hellish doppelbock that can sneak up on you. It's interesting that they call this a Helles Doppelbock. You could also call it a malt liquor, I guess. This unique high-gravity brew was made with pale malt German lager yeast and German pearl hops. Sip, don't gulp, and taste the wild of Abita Andygator. So very, very interesting. The label here is really cool. I love that label. I'm a big Jamie Hayes fan. He's an artist, has his own art gallery in New Orleans, actually. I have many of his different pieces, whether prints or originals. This reminds me of one of his pieces called Gator Po' Boy, but a very colorful, very, very cool label. Um, so, anyway, let's get right into it here. And it is September 1st when this video is being recorded, so I thought that it would be appropriate to pour the beer into my Miami Dolphins glass. I'm excited about football starting back today, even though the NFL doesn't start back officially until next Thursday. There's some really good college games on today, including Auburn, Washington. I think LSU, Miami comes on later tonight, but anyway, it should make for a very interesting day of football if you're into sports and if you're into college football in particular. So, gave it a nice pour. It's a golden clear color. There are some streaming bubbles going up the glass. The head, 2 to 2.5 finger of a white, creamy, almost soapy looking head with some pretty large bubble holes in there. Looks like the surface of the moon, some bubble craters going on there. But a very good looking beer. On the aroma, I'm getting some nice, lightly roasted barley malt. Very sweet and malty. There's a definite bready note as well on the aroma, like some white bread crust. Liquid bread, baby. Liquid bread. That's what I'm getting on the aroma. It smells really good. Very, very impressive aroma. So let's get right into the taste. Without further ado, guys, cheers. Hope you're having a great day, and here we go. All right. Definitely picking up on the barley malt up front. No question about it. Leads into a nice bready complexity in the middle of the sip. Very, very bready, very nice. There might be a little biscuity quality in there as well, which kind of lightens it up. And when I say biscuity, I mean it's more of a lighter, bready note that that is not as heavy. So it's more of like a light bready note. It doesn't weigh the beer down in any way, shape, or fashion. Very, very enjoyable. The 8% alcohol is very well masked, although on the back end, there is a little bit of that alcohol on the back end. But that breadiness lasts all the way through to the end, into the finish. I'm really not getting any hops, though. Maybe if this beer was a little bit more hoppy, it would balance out that malty sweetness and breadiness. And of course, the high ABV doesn't help. So if there was a little bit of a hop bite on the back end, that might mask the alcohol a little bit better. It might make for a more refreshing product, especially in the finish. It might make the finish a little bit more dry. The carbonation might stand out a little bit more, and of course, the malty sweetness and that alcohol presence might be masked a little bit better if you had that, but you don't. But it's not a bad thing. I think that's kind of what they were going for with this beer. Um, I mean, this is a malt liquor, people. A Helles Doppelbock, that's a fancy way of saying malt liquor. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this beer actually, when it first came out, was called a malt liquor, but they rebranded it as a Helles Doppelbock to kind of get the craft beer community more interested in it, possibly. I don't know. I'm not trying to stir up any controversy or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, it's got a different stigma now than it did maybe 10 years ago. But it's a very interesting beer. It's a very good beer. I like the change on the label design. I like the artistic approach to that. Like I said, it finishes pretty refreshing, although I would have liked a little bit more hop presence to kind of mask that 8% alcohol and kind of detract a little bit from the super malty sweetness that you're getting with it. But it's still, I mean, it's still great. Honestly, I was thinking when I was getting into this beer, before I cracked the bottle cap, I was thinking I was going to give this an A. But honestly, I think it's in the high B range. I think it's great. I think it's really good and enjoyable. It could be a little bit more balanced, and I think for the average beer drinker, this is going to be a little bit too strong. Now, for you malt liquor people out there like myself, I think you're going to freaking love this. I love it. I think you're going to love it. But if you're not a malt liquor drinker, if you're getting into it with that craft beer mentality and you're expecting something exotic and really, really just different from that standpoint, you might be a little bit disappointed. It doesn't take away from the quality of the beer. It just it makes it a little bit different, especially if you're going into it with certain expectations, you might be a little bit disappointed. But I've had this beer many times over the years. I think it is excellent, and or not excellent. I think it is very good. I'm going to say great. So for a rating, I'm going to go as close to A minus as possible, but it doesn't quite get there, and I can definitely see people take an issue with this beer, especially if they go into it with a certain mindset. But if you're a malt liquor lover and you like higher ABV beers and you're not necessarily dissuaded or turned off by the fact that the alcohol might not be masked as well as you might like it to be, then I think you would love this product. So, my rating, 89 out of 100 for the Abita Andygator Helles Doppelbock. Fancy. Abita's getting all fancy. But very cool artwork, very cool label, very great beer, but not quite excellent. So 89 out of 100 for this beer review. That'll do it. And until next time, everybody, cheers.